I'm sorry, of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district YouTube channel. Subject to be discussed or considered upon which any formal action may be taken or listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. Unless we remove from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Manager Terry.
Present.
Board Manager Vickers is not present. Board Manager Johnson. 2 members of the board is here. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comments? Okay, recognition. April 2021 Employee of the Month. B, April 2021 Lone Star Governor Teacher of the Month. C, April 2021 Lone Star Governor Student of the Month. D, report on continuous education credit for board members.
Good afternoon, Board President Johnson, board members, Dr. Henson. We come to you again at our board meeting to recognize those who have done outstanding work as employees and students of the district. So the first person the board would like to recognize is our employee of the month. She doesn't even know why she's here. Is the wonderful Miss Debbie as our employee of the month for the month of March. Ms. Debbie's been with the district for about 4 years or so, and if you ever need a smiling face or warm welcome, Ms. Debbie is there to make sure to welcome us in the morning. I've talked with Ms. Debbie enough to know that she has to leave early in the morning so the train doesn't catch her, so she won't be late to work. So Ms. Debbie, congratulations, and we really appreciate your work.
I appreciate it. Didn't expect it at all. One or two. Thank you.
Next is our Lone Star Governance Teacher of the Month, Ms. Milagros Rodriguez. She comes from parents who migrated to the United States in 1994, seeking a better life for her and her siblings. Ms. Rodriguez has been married for 6 years. She lived most of her life in Waco. She graduated from Texas State University in San Marcos with her bachelor's degree. She's the first in her family to graduate from college. Before working at Marlin Elementary, she worked at Texas Department of Family and Protective Services as an investigator. She is the first-year teacher in second grade math. She enjoys being around the children because she has a deep passion for children and making a difference in their life. During her spare time, she volunteers with Central Texas Food Bank. During the summer, she is a volunteer for Camp John Mark TLC for kids with spinal bifida. So again, I would like to introduce our Lone Star Governance Teacher of the Month, Ms. Milagros Rodriguez. And our student is entering now. And our Lone Star Governance Student of the Month, Mr. Daniel Cabillo, is a top-performing fifth grader at the Marlin Elementary School. Teachers describe him as a studious, brilliant, and top character. We are proud that he is here to represent Marlin Elementary. So again, Mr. Daniel Cabillo.
Chief and Dr. Hinton, I have to speak on his behalf also. In math, he is, in math, he's like 100%. And so, I don't say that lightly. And so I try to find things to challenge him because he literally gets like 100% on the work that he does. And when he has the opportunity to, if he runs out of time, or not runs out of time, but if he has extra time, he spends it making sure that his peers in class understand the work. And so I'm extremely proud of him all the time.
Thank you, and that concludes our recognitions.
Under the state Board of Education rule, continuing required continuous education teaching service is a basic obligation and expectation of any city board member. As board of trustees, I am required to announce the names of each member who has completed the required continuous education, has exceeded the required continuous education. The difference in meeting the required continuous education. The requirements of training are measured as the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment, or 2 years anniversary of his or her previous training as applicant. There are 7 training areas for board members' continuous education. 1, locus district orientation. 2, orientation to the education code. 3, post-election update to the education code. 4, team building. 5, additional continuing education. 6, evaluation of student academic performance and technical goals. 7, identifying and supporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. To the extent applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion of deficit. As to required training, the members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled training. At the conclusion of the announcement, I will announce any board member trained in excess of the continuous education for local district orientation, orientation to the respective education program. Post legislative update to the executive education board. The following board members have time remaining to complete the post-education update to the executive education code and have not yet scheduled this training. 3 members needed. Myself, Mr. Terry, the executive. Team building. The following board members have completed the annual training building, annual team building training. All 3 members have myself, Mr. Terry, continuous education. The following board members have completed the annual continuous education report. Myself, Ms. Terry, Mr. Rivers. Evaluation student academic performance and setting goals. The following board members have completed the biannual training of evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. Myself, Ms. Terry, and Dan Rivers. Identifying and supporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of students. Only one that completed that is Ms. Terry. The following board members have scheduled training to carry complete the biannual training of identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, myself and Mr. Becker. Exceeding required continuous education. Ms. Terry exceed the required amount of continuous education by 5 additional hours. Mr. Becker exceeded the required amount continuous education training by 5 hours. So I have a long 305 additional hours. I'm going to go into closed session. Saturday, 4:12. Approved Detective Government Code Section 551.074, the deliberation of personnel matters. 4:38. We're back in open session now. First thing on the agenda is superintendent report.
Board President Johnson, Mrs. Terry, we will begin the superintendent's report with Dr. Stacy Parker and Lone Star Governance Goal Progress Measure 1.1.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, Mrs. Terry, Dr. Henson, member of the board. Tonight, I am presenting on Lone Star Governance Goal Progress Measure 1.1. So Goal Progress Measure 1.1 states that the percentage of pre-kindergarten through second grade students reading at or above grade level will increase by at least 1% per quarter as measured by a computer-based reading assessment. Our current 2020-2021 target percentage is 54%. Marlin ISD uses M-Class Amplify as the literacy screener for kindergarten through second grade, and we use the CLI Engage Circle assessment for pre-kindergarten. So looking at pre-kindergarten literacy results based on the CLI Engage Circle data, if you will notice, here in the overall measure for rapid vocabulary, our students are actually now at 68% on track. Also, when looking at phonological awareness, that has now increased where 49% are actually on track in pre-kindergarten. There was significant growth in our pre-kindergarten data from Q1 that I reported last time to this quarter, which is Q2. The rapid vocabulary increased significantly, 19 percentage points from 49% to 68%. Students were just starting out, so there was not phonological awareness data, so now our kids have increased to 49%. So there were also, as you note, even across the other categories, if I quit pushing the wrong button, we did experience double-digit gains in each domain of the phonological awareness from Q1 as well as rapid vocabulary. Looking at our students overall, as I just mentioned regarding pre-kindergarten, the total percentage did increase from 49% in the first quarter, which was our beginning of the year literacy assessment with Circle Engage, CLI Engage Circle, to now at 59%, which is above our 54% overall target for pre-kindergarten. However, looking at our kindergarten, first grade, and second grade data using M-Class Amplify, unfortunately, we did see some regression in our data. At the beginning of the year, 50% of our kindergartners were on or above level, and that has dropped to 32% of our kindergarten students on or above grade level as measured by that assessment. For first grade, we had 42% according to our beginning of the year data, and that has dropped significantly to 26% of our students on or above grade level. And then for second grade, we started the year, beginning of the year, 44% of our second grade students being on or above grade level, and now dropping down to 33% of our students. As I'm reporting this data tonight, we as a cabinet, we've sat and we've looked at the data. I've also talked to the elementary leadership team, and we own this data. One of our solutions, as we are solution driven, is that is why we are placing such an emphasis on the need of early childhood focus, and why we are proposing now for making the shift and having an early childhood specialist. Also because this is literacy, and we want literacy definitely as our target moving forward as we focus heavily on literacy. We have our teachers in the upcoming months getting ready to go through that intensive training through the reading academies that are required by the state. So our teachers will begin that. And then we also are focusing by now also employing a reading coach and a district reading specialist to really support our teachers in those grades, teaching literacy components specifically and growing in that craft and working with our students to catch them up and move them beyond.
As Dr. Parker mentioned, this data, it is disheartening. With this year, we have made a commitment to you to improve scores, and the majority of our data has trended upward. This is one of our first reports in which there has been a major regression in kindergarten, first and second grade. I do want to assure you and assure the community that the elementary principal and kindergarten, first and second grade teachers are working on an immediate plan to make a change between now and the end of the school year. We know that for next school year, we're going to go through the reading academies, and the plan is to hire additional support, but we have to own this data to say that, frankly, we did not meet the mark and meet the standard in kindergarten through second grade.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, look good.
It
Yeah,
is.
ma'am. Thank you.
What is the purple is?
Oh, the purple data was from the data I reported during the last time I reported on this particular category from our beginning of the year data. So
That where we were?
that's where we were with
And
kids
this
coming into.
Goal is where
the-
we're at now?
Yes, sir.
We dropped.
So we dropped a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so we do recognize that frankly, as a district, that's not acceptable. However, the plan is to always monitor and then adjust. So I do want to assure you that Dr. Parker is working hard on a plan, and together, herself and Mrs. Edwards are figuring out with the teachers, okay, what do you need? What support do you need? Just trying to understand the why, and definitely a root cause analysis, just to make sure that while we enter into the last grading period, the last 6 weeks, we offer 6 weeks of phenomenal instruction to catch them back up to where they were.
Yes. Thank you.
Next, we will have our first budget workshop for next year by Mr. Lawrence Galloway.
Good evening again, Board President Johnson, Board Member Terry, Dr. Henson. Today, I would like to bring to you the first budget workshop preview that you will see for the 21-22 school year. The first portion that we're going to talk about specifically is about payroll and some of the changes and some of the enhancements that we're making in that area first. First, I want to take you on a little journey, and we talk about this current school year. Current school year is also known as fiscal year 21. And we're looking at the chart to the left, the bar graph to the left, is a total number, the $12,485,581 is our total revenue across all funds, meaning our local funds from tax collections also to our state support FSP, and also to our federal funds from cafeteria to Medicaid, things of that such. That was our projected revenue for this school year. Our projected expenditures for this school year is the $8,956,000 that you see with the blue bar. Over to the right, these numbers were predicated or predicted by the enrollment of 841 students, with our ADA, which is our average daily attendance, at the 89%. The target goal, of course, for attendance is a lot higher for students to attend school, but this is where we were. However, due to COVID, we lucked up and we were able to have hold harmless, meaning we were funded at a level of 869 for ADA.
Can you please explain average daily attendance to say we have an enrollment of 841, but what is significant about that 752?
So the 752 is students that are actually in a seat every single day, and approximately how often are they in a seat. So if I have 100 students and I want to hit 90% attendance, and 90% of those kids need to come to school. So our goal typically is around the 96, 97, 98% of our student population. Does that happen all the time? We wanted to, and we have efforts in place, hence the reason we do a lot with attendance incentives to get students here. We do attendance recovery so we can get those students back into the seats on time on task, and make sure they hit the number of minutes that they need to be successful academically and in school. So luckily, due to Hold Harmless, our ADA was held at 869 for the school year, meaning we were funded at a level of average daily attendance to approximately be 869. That number is literally, as we talk through many professionals from TEA to other chief academic officers, chief financial officers in the area, there's a long formula that TEA used to get to that number. We are just very thankful that it came up to 869 and for our funding source for this school year. Going forward, our prediction as we discuss and start to plan, we project our enrollment to be 840 students with approximately an ADA of 785. That would be an attendance percentage of 93.5%. We are really hoping and we are pushing that that number is significantly increased by students seeing the NICE Learning Center, seeing the emphasis that we have put into extracurricular activities, and also seeing the academics grow, making sure that students have academic opportunities to be successful here in Maryland. So that's our push to hopefully, maybe one day we can get to the actual 869. That would actually be our real number, but we want to push that number to at least hit 97, 98%. From this number, we're predicting that our total revenue for next school year will be $11,744,883. That's with $3,691,464 in local tax collection, $7,586,419 in our state support, FSP, and other federal programs would be $467,000. Are there any questions thus far? So one thing I would like to point out is from the 2021 to 21-22 school year, this current school year to our projected school year, there is a decrease in projected revenue of $740,698, approximately 5.93%. However, part of that projected payroll, part of that to help solidify that or to help mitigate that, projected enrollment going into 21-22 school year will be a decrease in 410,516, which is approximately a 4.5% decrease in our payroll expenditures. This payroll decrease comes from savings through positive attrition, also through secondary staffing alignment, having one principal, having some teachers teach teaching across campuses between middle and middle and high school, I apologize. And also strategic departmental budgeting, meaning we are looking at each individual department. Departments had to categorize their budgets by things that were imperative, that they had to do legally, things that they would like to do for initiatives, and also wish lists. As we make sure we do the important things first, the wish list items do fall to the bottom of the barrel, and hopefully they are part of the strategic planning that we do for next school year. But that is going to be a part of us bridging that gap of that difference of the $740,000, that we will have a difference from last school year to this current school year. And please know that the difference significantly is because we had Hold Harmless this school year from the 869, and now we're going back to our real number, our real ADA and enrollment for the 21-22 school year. Were there any questions? No?
Board President Johnson and Board Member Terry, the charge to Mr. Galloway was to budget conservatively. 93.5%. We really hope that that's not going to be our attendance rate. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't overextend ourselves and give ourselves credit for a higher average daily attendance in which we would receive more revenue, and then we would budget more expenditures, and then we would come to you next May or June saying that we overextended our thoughts as related to revenue. These numbers are extremely conservative. So knowing that we're no longer going to receive that Hold Harmless, which of course had to deal with COVID, we had to find ways to decrease our projected expenditures, knowing that payroll and human resources is the largest driver of district expenditures. Now, we have not cut positions. It'll be through positive attrition, and then of course streamlining our leadership positions, and then streamlining our teaching positions at our secondary campus, so going 6-12 together in one.
Next, we would like to move into the consent agenda, the financial report for the month of March. This is our, as of the end of March, our month statement, as I've been continuing to say, I will show you 3 months so we can show a trend. What you will see this month, we did not receive a large payment from our state FSP. As I mentioned before, back in November, December timeframe, that as tax season rolls around and individuals start paying their property taxes, that our state support or payments would dwindle. They would continue to decrease. So right now, we are floating on that money that we collected at the very beginning of the year, as we've discussed already. What I would like to point out is also in Function 12, you see the large increase from the previous month, February, of the $3,337 to a $393,943 increase as far as expenditures. That is a representation of our learning centers. The payment actually went out for the learning centers, the tables, the chairs, TVs, and things that we see now. Even though that money was encumbered and planned earlier this year, a check actually walked out the door, or ACH walked out the door, direct payment. So that's, want to make sure that we identify that's a significant increase in that area. Also, if you go further down, our expenditures did increase to the $1,377,970. That payment also is a direct reflection of that significant increase for the month of March. What I also said that I would start beginning to do so we can take a deeper dive into the finances is specifically talk about 3 different functions. The last time we talked about finances, we went over function 11, 12, and 13, instruction, instructional resources and media, which is also our library services, and the curriculum development. This time I would like to discuss with you all or go into a deeper dive of function 21, which is instructional support. 23, which is our school leadership. You can look at that as principals and assistant principals. And 31 will be our guidance counselors that are on our campuses. Function 21, instructional leadership, as you can see, most of that, as most cases, will be spent in payroll. Payroll was the largest part of that expense for the month of March. The other one was supplies and materials that we ordered. The other 3 objects, 6,200 professional services, 64 other operating expenses, and capital outlay did not have any expenditures under function 21. Function 23, school leadership. The largest, again, is our payroll object, which is the first object, which is significantly larger in that case, which is of our school leadership and our campus leadership. Also, we've had some other professional services that we utilized that to support our principals, meaning we utilize Region 12 and we utilize other coaching and contracted services to work with our principals and with our teachers to make sure that they have that support. Supplies and materials was $13,465,000, and as well as other operating expenses, $17,525. What does that look like? $525,000. What that looks like is for the other operating expenses. It could be other activities that the campus has completed in the month of March, other professional development, or other conferences that individuals and school leadership have attended. And then the last function that I'm going to discuss is function 31, guidance and counseling. Our largest, again, is also payroll. We have a little more diversity in this one with professional services, supplies being at $21,980, and other operating expenses. So I just want to make sure that I would like to be a lot more transparent with this information so that you can see exactly where are we spending the funds, the budgeted funds that we do have, and how are they being utilized by the individual functions and who they represent with the people on the campuses that are spending them. Going forward with food service, food service had another normal month, or what I would consider a normal month, with revenue being at the $29,524 amount. All of our students continue to eat free, and we do claims, and we're always a month behind with the claims as we turn them in from the USDA to get reimbursed. Then we also have the investment report that with our typical or our normal text pool account, and as well as our account ending balance at the end of March closure. Finally, you have an insert with the check registry. The check registry does look a little different. I wanted to make sure we provided more transparency when it comes to check registry and the checks that we do write. But notice that these checks are the ones that have already been printed and dispersed. You can also, if you would like to look for it, the check that I mentioned earlier about the Staples Learning Center, as far as that was the larger amount that went out for the month of March. Are there any questions about this month of March financials?
We will have district copier lease with Mr. Adam Lejeune.
President Johnson, Member Terry, Dr. Henson. At the last meeting, I presented to you the fact that our copiers were expiring and that we were putting up an RFP to ask for leases for new machines. I wanted to point something out that we had in that RFP, which was that we did reserve the right to conduct additional contract negotiations beyond the specifications in the RFP. The RFP was designed to give us a good apples-to-apples comparison between the different vendors who might want to present to us. And so there will be some slight adjustments made, which is why you'll see the consent statement to look a little bit different than you might expect. And I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. So first, though, I wanted to go over some of our details that we had about expenses that we've done and volumes that we print. As you can see, I have 18-19 details, which is the most representative year for what we intend or what we would typically do in a normal year, because that is the pre-COVID year. Elementary printed a lot during the initial stages of the COVID, while high school did not print that much at all. And so that threw off our numbers from then. But based on these details, we printed about 2.2 million prints in 18-19, and our total cost of our contracts, which was the machine lease as well as maintenance, toner, supplies, fixes, things like that, that ended up being $36,653. And our actual payments, which included overages, ended up being $40,215. Of a overage charge of $3,562, which it's not an exceptionally high amount. Other schools have about the same amount of volume as we do, but it is just something to consider in those numbers. So Marlin ISD received 2 proposals. Both of them actually ended up being pretty similar. There are 2 differences, though, that I'd like to highlight. One is that CTWP, which is based out of Waco, it's the Waco headquartered company, offered 0.6 cents per black and white copy, while Ricoh, which is a worldwide equipment manufacturer, offered 0.45 cents per copy. This is a lower cost at the volumes that we are anticipating to print. But CTWP is not charging for individual licensing of the software that we need in order to reach all the specifications, whereas Ricoh is charging an additional $262 per month. Yes, per month. So the 2 proposals, based on our projected amounts, ended up being pretty close: $26,575.92 a year, $26,537.04 per year. I will say that I have been doing a little bit more, and I've already discovered that if we were to increase some of our specs, then our prices would not go up a tremendous amount. We're really just looking at about $20 per machine, $20 to $50 per machine higher lease, but our per page price would actually go down, so they kind of cancel out. So that would likely be some of the negotiation that we do. But summing up the proposals, both proposals meet all the requirements. Ricoh, as I said, is a global equipment manufacturer. They have offices and staff all around the world, whereas CTWP is right here in Waco. They have a headquarters there, and then they have different locations around Texas. Ricoh's machine their main machine that they offered for our services has not yet been rated by any third-party reliability or equipment quality manufacturer, or not manufacturer, but publication. They're a smaller version of the color copier that they're offering us is given reliability certified, which is like a bronze medal for that model, but none of the other ones were rated. Whereas CTWP offered us what is basically considered the best office copier lineup right now, 2021. And we do business with Ricoh already. They hold the larger purchase that I was discussing earlier. CTWP also does some business with us. They have several smaller leases that we are hoping to pull together and pay for together. So based on this analysis of the two different bids, we're recommending that the board give Dr. Hinson the ability to move forward with contract negotiations and to sign the lease agreement once everything is finalized, after we do some fine tuning. Were there any questions about anything that I presented? I recommend going with CTWP, which is headquartered in Waco. It's essentially a local company instead of Ricoh, which is a worldwide global company. All right. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have Mr. Jesse Bustamante with the 21-22 salary schedules and stipends.
Good afternoon, Board President Johnson, Mrs. Terry, Dr. Henson. As previously presented at our last board workshop, our 2021-2022 salary schedules. This first salary schedule is for our non-certified employees and our non-certified employees that are on our teacher scale. But I did want to note the one change that we made that you didn't see at the previous board workshop was the child nutrition director position. We changed that title to the food service director position. We changed it to child nutrition director. Reason for that, it's not just the food service director position. It's a position that serves children. So a better title for that position is child nutrition director, since she does serve our children in Marlin ISD. Any questions on any of the highlighted items that are in yellow? Any questions on the items that are strike-through items? Our teacher salary schedule, as previously presented at our last board meeting, we didn't make any changes to this. Just want to open it up for any questions or any feedback that the board may have at this time regarding the teacher salary schedule. Same with our Marlin ISD 2021-2022 stipends. We didn't make any changes from the last board workshop. Any questions on our stipend schedule? Thank you.
And one thing to mention as it relates to the stipends and/or salary schedule, before any change can be made, we do have to bring it back to the board for consent. So if there are any changes after tonight, we'll bring it back to you every time for consent. Next, we will have Mr. Lawrence Galloway with Property Casualty Alliance of Texas member, Representative Change.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, Board Member Terry, Dr. Henson. The Property Casualty Alliance of Texas member Representative Change Form, also known as PCAT, is our casualty insurance, and we're just changing the representative name from the previous representative to myself so that we are able to conduct business going into the 21-22 school year to make sure all contact information is accurate and up to date, so we are able to continue to process and have a seamless business office in all transactions that they do. So that form should be an insert in your board packet for today. Are there any questions? Next is about the musical instrument purchase. Just as we brought to you before, a partnership with BSN, we knew that a purchase that was approaching, to make sure that we get prepared for the 21-22 school year, that it would be above the threshold of $24,999. It's the same information, same concept for our musical instrument purchase. In musical instrument purchase, we are doing this purchase also, as we mentioned at the very beginning, to expand our fine arts program. But also, this is to make sure that we have instruments, sufficient enough instruments at the middle school as well as the high school, so that they do not have to, one, transition or transport instruments between both campuses, and so that students are not sharing instruments, especially during this time in COVID. We have not gotten to a final number as of yet, but we know that working with them, as we most know, that the instrument purchase will be above the $24,000 threshold. We just wanted to bring it to you for approval, as we have started taking bids and looking at other vendors to make sure that we can move forward with this purchase. Are there any questions?
And this concludes the superintendent's report. Well, I will say briefly, I would like to thank Mr. Adam Lejeune for his work with the setup of the facility and how the searches on the screens, as well as your display devices as well. So Adam, thank you.
Looks nice.
The only what to say is it's very cool.
All right, next is the consent agenda. Anything in the consent agenda anybody want to bring up?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passed 2-0. Is there anything else need to be discussed? If not, stand adjourned. Huh? Need my